Hello and welcome. Today we're just going to do a quick walk, call it a spring walk over the farm, just to see how we come through the winter. We all know we've had a rather wet time, and we have seen a lot of signs that we've had a lot more resilience against leaching and wet areas through the what we've been seeing on our journey. So I'm just starting today by our ash. Well, it's a bit early on the ash yet, but we got high hopes. These are looking really good. We haven't showing very little yellowing on the surface of the bark, which indicates they're well on top of the ash dieback. And one of our next videos, we'll start it here once the leaves have come out, and then we'll see how they survive the winter. Move on. This is our orchard. It's only a little orchard. We just grow a few apples for our own use. Any excess we make into cider, and we started using biochar on them 2 years ago. And how I look at it, before that we had about 2, maybe 3 flagons of cider a year over and above the apples we ate. The last 2 years we've had 7 or 8 and 6 or 7 per year, which makes me quite happy actually, because I like my cider off our own apples. So all we've done this year, we've just put our base mix that you saw us on the previous video formulating in the cattle shed. We've actually put some of this around all the bases of the apple trees, and this that we see here will be going on the garden and in the greenhouse very shortly. Yeah, we have a Ukrainian family staying with us on the farm, and they wanted a garden, so we made a garden in the corner of the field last year. We just ploughed it and rotivated some of the biochar mix in, and the crop was pretty impressive really. So we're now into the second year of it, and again we've actually introduced the manure mix from our cattle shed, which we're putting on the top now. That should ensure a really good microbial presence in the soil, especially the fungi, and the fungi microbes is the most critical part of it. So we will doing regular updates on this as we move through the year to see how everything grows. So this is an interesting observation, is the docks. The docks are really suffering with something, and I don't really know what, but whatever it is, it's doing us a really good job because it's suppressing the docks and keeping them from getting dominant in the pasture. I have read that when you get your soil biology right, that weeds like docks, etc., will become suppressed by the good organisms, and then they have a tough life, and then they're more prone to disease. Normally, we've seen it before where the docks have been really healthy, and all the plants we want to grow have been susceptible to disease. So that's where a microbial fungi balance that we've achieved in this field seems to be giving me some unexplained results really. Okay, one of the interesting things what we're looking at now is you can see clearly in the grass that is growing the wheel marks from when we put the manure on last October. Now it was later than we would normally do it, and obviously the ground was wet, so we knew compaction was going to be an issue, but that's sometimes what has to be. When you look at how much less the grass has grown where the wheel tracks are, you start to realize how big a compaction problem is and how it can manifest itself massively in grasslands. And the larger tractors and slurry tankers and heavyweight machinery is just making this bad. This field shows it up more because the microbial activity that we've managed to achieve has made the soil more open and living, and so it's actually showing more benefit where there is no compaction. So compaction is a major issue and something we will be looking at, aiming on doing it with smaller tractors, smaller spreader, maybe more low ground pressure tires in the future, because when you look at that you realize the harm that you do sometimes. One other interesting thing to look at is that area there that is a different colour. We've got a broken land drain there, so it's been waterlogged most of the winter. Now it has suffered a stress in related to the areas that weren't waterlogged, but it hasn't gone aerobic to the level of many other pastures I see in my travels, and it does reinforce my view that the biochar compost mixes we're making and the high levels of bacteria and fungi microbes is actually fortifying our land against the effects of winter and wet and rain. And so we're seeing, as you can see, we've had quite a good winter growth, and so far I think it's fairly exceptional spring growth, considering the season we've had so far. So realistically we are very, very happy with this so far this year. And also another interesting situation is we had a mass invasion of dandelions about 2 years ago when the whole field was absolutely yellow. And I thought, well, nature will sort that out. And sure enough, you can see the dandelions are getting restricted to more and more patches where we are a bit sparse on cover. And I've achieved that by overseeding some more clover, some more herbs, and some more grass. So it's all about get your grasses and your clovers, they will outcompete the weeds, and it will find a balance. Nature will find a way. We wouldn't even consider using herbicides to control weeds like dandelions, because the damage it would do would just, well, it's just not worth it. Okay. This is turnout time. We've got the majority of the herd is turned out now, 18th of April. We are a little bit later than last year. We normally try and be out on the 7th of April. What we have seen has been quite a surprise is how fast the land has dried up once it finally stopped raining the end of last week, which reinforces the fact that once you get your biology back in the soil, it becomes free draining, so a lot less prone to waterlogging. Even so, on the main field of our cutting field down there, you can see some poor patches on it, which is where it's been waterlogged, really badly waterlogged, because the water actually wells out to the ground. But again, it's massively better than what we saw 7 years ago. We had a similar sort of level of rain, and everything on the left hand side was virtually yellow this time of year, and that was the last time I actually used artificial fertilizer. We put about 100 weight an acre to try and get it going, to get some sort of cut. This year we haven't got that problem. Yes, we've probably got half an acre that is quite stressed, but it hasn't really gone to what I would call total anaerobic conditions where they virtually dies off. So yeah, we're quite pleased with that. So, as you see, our cows are not limousines. They are relatively quiet, so to speak. They're a bit of a pain sometimes because they come up for a scratch, middle of the field, which is great. We like quiet cows. And this year we've made a change. We've actually gone a little bit off piste, and we've got a new Murray Grey bull, which will be quite interesting because there's not a lot of Murray Grey bulls around, but apparently they're as laid back as this lot. So hopefully we're going to have one of the most laid back bunch of cows in the area. This is quite interesting because it's a very old lay. I think we reseeded this probably in the 1980s, so this is 40-year-old. Never been touched. We've never done anything to it, just left it for grazing. We've never tried to put any overseeding or any clovers or anything to it. So we're actually in a sward that is devoid of clover. And what is quite amazing really is, even though it's got no clover, we're seeing incredibly good spring growth, and the amount of manure biochar mix we put on it last year was no more than 1.5 ton an acre, so the nitrogen definitely hasn't come from that. So this is indicating that the biology in the soil is actually starting to work really well. We will be doing some fungal microbial tests on this in the next week or so. And then behind me, that area there is one of the wettest areas on the farm. It has got some drainage in it, but it is really, you could not go on that with a tractor. You'd sink that deep, and normally it goes as yellow and insipid looking after wet conditions in the winter, and this time it's come through. To me it's looking good for a bad part of the field, if you understand what I mean. This is looking fantastic for a good part of the field. That's looking okay for a bad part of the field. And it also looks to me like as soon as it dries up, it should recover. We'll give it an additional dressing of our microbial compost in the spring, just to get some microbes back in and get everything back up to speed as quick as we can, because it has had a very, very tough winter. So we will see how that goes. Anyway, that's all for now. We'll see you soon.